Hello out there in cryptocurrency. Welcome back to Real Crypto. Thank you for joining me here today. So Bitcoin, as of recently, we all remember this large pump we had a few days ago. When was this? This was the 12th. This was 5 days ago. And man, does that seem like a lifetime ago. However, what we see here, and we're still above, keep in mind we're still above the close here. We still are kind of in an uptrend, but we had these two large sell candles that stepped in. And something else to notice is volume on the buy side declined relatively very quickly, actually, extraordinarily quickly. And as you can see here, when we tried to go over this point of resistance, so last time we were talking, we had a trend line here, okay? And since what's happened is we kind of put in more of a kind of what I view as a topping area, something similar to a sideways trend line. If my mouse would actually catch the line there. You can see that we have a horizontal point of resistance, and when that horizontal point of resistance was broken, boom, off to the races we went. But the problem there is no buyers came in. There were no sellers there, which is why we formed this little mini cup with handle here, but there were no buyers that stepped in and took us higher. They just didn't show up, ladies and gentlemen. The buyers from here, looks like it was a one-stop shop, which leads us to the point that maybe this was a vast majority of this was short covering, and the lack of follow-through may indicate exactly that. So what do we have now? Well, what we're left with is a head and shoulders pattern. If you can't see it, here's your shoulder, here's your head, and here's your right hand shoulder. I actually thought this right hand shoulder would take a little longer to develop and maybe give us a pattern similar to this or something like this, some sideways consolidation. But instead it really broke down quite quickly. We had a little pop up here creating the shoulder, and look at that buy volume, even lower, very, very low buy volume comparatively. And then most recently we had the bigger drop and much larger volume. Okay, and then now we're just kind of holding underneath the neckline. So let's go ahead and draw the neckline in here. We're going to pick the low point between the left shoulder and the head. Okay, and we're also going to line it up here with the low point between the the head and the right shoulder. So we're going to pick those two ultimate low points, and we're going to draw this neckline. So here's where we broke down to the neckline. Now, as you know, with the head and shoulders target, we can infer a downside target. I should say with the head and shoulders pattern, we can infer a downside target. If you do that, it's going to bring us down to about 7,500, 7,450. So right here, about 7,450 is the actual target itself. And if you notice, it lines up very nicely over here with this little peak over here. All right, so that's more than likely the next move down in Bitcoin. The price action leads that, the volume precedes that, and that's more than likely where we're headed. Now, if we back out to the one-day chart, here, what we're going to find is we did test that 50-day like we discussed, and I thought we would actually get into it. I thought we would get past it. If you remember, we talked about targets in the $9,100 to $9,200 area was our lowest target. We didn't even come close to that, and we didn't even break this 50-day moving average. So like I said, I would anticipate further downside action from here. We're not seeing any accumulation. And speaking of volume, looking on this daily, you can really tell even as of the beginning of April, we're halfway through April now, and you can see these green candles outside of obviously this very large green one. Buyers haven't shown up at all. There's no interest in Bitcoin at this level. Everybody's waiting on the sidelines. Everyone's waiting for capitulation. People talk about a self-fulfilling prophecy. There may be, we may be due that self-fulfilling prophecy to the downside. We're all waiting for, whatever price target we're waiting for. I've seen numbers anywhere between $6,000 and $600, which I think is asinine. I think the absolute lowest Bitcoin will go, and I mean absolute lowest, is going to be $1,200. I don't think we're going to get near $1,200, but I think that is the absolute lowest that Bitcoin can go. If we go below $1,200, something is definitely wrong with Bitcoin, and I don't think we're getting close to that. There's a lot of institutions, a lot of big money coming into cryptocurrencies this year, and I think this will be the year where we see probably a generational low in Bitcoin, to be quite frank with you. I think this is going to be the year where we see the generational low, and then we see the next parabolic move, and then we put in a much higher level for Bitcoin, maybe resting around $50,000. Just talking off the top of my head there, it's something I've been thinking about. Don't hold me to that, but that's just something that I've been thinking about. But yeah, so right now I think Bitcoin's going to head lower. What happens when we get down here? You know what? We'll go ahead and read the tea leaves / charts when we get down in that area, and we'll see what's what. We'll see what the volume has to say. If volume comes in aggressive to the downside, maybe we just go ahead and break lower. But we do have kind of a nice little, I don't know if it's really, I don't know if you can call it a channel. We don't have like any secondary points in terms of topside action here. But if we clone this, you know, we are kind of stuck inside of a small trading range right now. Okay, now if this is the ultimate low in Bitcoin, all right, let's just throw this out there. If this is the ultimate low in Bitcoin, and this is the ultimate capitulation, and this is the lack of follow through to the downside, then we're stuck in this range between 9,000 and 6,400. Okay, now we may chop around here for a while, and if we go up out of 9,000, we have to buy that. To be quite honest with you, even if it's a fake out, I think you have to buy that and be ready to possibly entertain a loss back into the base here. But odds are we're going to chop around here and then head lower. We're going to do something within this range. We tried to get up. We couldn't even get past 8,400, but we have to respect this 9,000 level that was kind of this top over here, and we have to respect this 6,400 level. That was the low. If you really want to be conservative, we can even bump this up a little bit, maybe call it 6,750 if you want to kind of really tighten this up. But I believe in giving this a bit of a wider berth and kind of giving it some space. And so we have a range between 9,000 and 6,500 right now. So maybe for the foreseeable future, we just chop around this area. And I use the key word there, and if you didn't catch it, it was chop. When I say the word chop, that means be very careful, people. Please be very careful with your accounts. In choppy markets, you can expect to get chopped up, and that is the technical term for where you overtrade and take a bunch of small losses, trying to buy breakouts that don't happen, to the upside and to the downside. Anything can happen in a choppy market, and you really have to be ready for that, okay? Now, there will be chart patterns in here, as we've seen. We saw this cup, this little rounded bottom action that proceeded with a big jump to the upside. I think that took most everyone by surprise. And then up here we have a head and shoulders, which we actually talked about a potential head and shoulders in the last video. So from here, we're going to chop around. And you're going to have to be cautious. You're going to have to be very patient with your trades. Now, one thing this may do is keep alts running. Now, alts have had a pretty decent run so far. We have many coins that are doing very good things and setting up very nicely. But within this 9,000 to 6,500 range, I would be very cautious with Bitcoin. And to that end, you could go ahead and trade some alts. And but this video is pretty much about Bitcoin. We're going to do alts actually in a separate video, so keep a lookout for that. But Bitcoin right now, selling off, broke the head and shoulders pattern to the downside, and waiting for it to hit 7,500, living in the channel. Be patient and be careful, ladies and gentlemen. Have your stop losses ready. Take your profits quickly, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys. Thanks.